At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to the main character Jang Pan-soo, who has a strained relationship with his wife. One morning, Pan-soo leaves for the office without having breakfast, which further spoils his wife's mood. At the office, one of his employees informs him that most of the shops in a particular area have already been vacated, but a few tenants are still refusing to leave. Determined to clear the area for a new project, Pan-soo instructs his assistant to speed up the process and make sure the remaining shops are emptied as soon as possible. Afterward, Pan-soo heads to meet his father-in-law to discuss an important business meeting. It is revealed that all of Pan-soo's business ventures are actually controlled by his father-in-law. Before meeting him, Pan-soo stops at a restaurant to eat. Coincidentally, a high school student named Kim Dong-hyun is also dining there. While eating, Dong-hyun receives an urgent phone call. When he gets up to pay the bill, he suddenly realizes he has forgotten his wallet at home. The restaurant owner, trying to help, reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, this gentleman will pay for you." She then turns to Pan-soo and asks him to cover Dong-hyun's bill, which totals around $100. Shocked, Pan-soo looks at the bill and exclaims, "How can one person eat so much food alone?" After reluctantly paying for both his and Dong-hyun's meals, Pan-soo gets into his car and heads to meet his father-in-law. However, he soon gets stuck in heavy traffic. Frustrated, he steps out of the car to make a phone call. Meanwhile, Kim Dong-hyun is trying to retrieve a shoe that got stuck on the roof of a nearby building. While attempting to balance himself, Kim slips and accidentally falls from the building, landing directly on Jang Pan-soo. The impact knocks Pan-soo unconscious immediately. When Pan-soo finally opens his eyes, he finds himself lying in a hospital bed. A nurse asks softly, "How are you feeling now, son?" Hearing this, Pan-soo is startled. He's 45 years old, so why is the nurse calling him son? Confused, he quickly gets up and rushes to the mirror. But as soon as he sees his reflection, he freezes in shock. The face staring back at him isn't his own. It's the high school student from the restaurant, Kim Dong-hyun, whose bill he had paid earlier. It turns out that during the fall, when Kim landed on Pan-soo, their souls were swapped. Pan-soo also notices his original body lying in a coma on another hospital bed, now inhabited by Kim's soul. Soon, Kim's father arrives at the hospital to visit his son. However, Pan-soo, now trapped in Kim's body, speaks nervously and incoherently, confusing everyone around him. The doctor explains to Kim's father that his son has likely suffered from memory loss due to a head injury, which explains his strange behavior. Later, Pan-soo decides to return home to see his wife. But when she sees him, now in the body of a teenage boy, she panics and screams. Pan-soo desperately tries to explain everything to her, but she doesn't believe a word he says. Instead, she calls the building security and has him taken away by the police. At the police station, Kim's father arrives again to pick up his son. He apologizes to the officers, explaining that his son's memory has been unstable ever since his accident. Kim's father then takes Jang Pan-soo, who is now trapped in Kim Dong-hyun's body, back to their home. Wanting to cheer his son up, he cooks a huge feast, enough food to feed several people. When Pan-soo sees the massive spread, he politely tells Kim's father that he doesn't usually eat that much. But Kim's father laughs and says, "What are you talking about? You normally eat even more than this every day." A bit embarrassed, Pan-soo reluctantly takes a small bite, but soon after, he loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he's shocked to see that he has eaten everything, all by himself. The next day, Pan-soo goes to school for lunch. As soon as he sits down, the other students around him quietly stand up and move to another table. From this, Pan-soo realizes that Kim Dong-hyun wasn't very popular at school. While eating, he notices a group of students bullying a girl named Hyun. Without hesitation, Pan-soo steps in and tells them to stop. One of the boys turns to him and starts threatening him. Just as the boy is about to hit Pan-soo, a teacher arrives and stops the situation from escalating. Before leaving, the bully glares at Pan-soo and tells him to meet him outside after school. Later, when Pan-soo shows up, the boy is surprised by how confident and fearless Kim suddenly seems. The bully tries to punch him, but Pan-soo slaps him first. Shocked, the other boys rush in to attack, but Pan-soo takes them all down one by one, using his grown man experience inside a teenager's body. That night, Pan-soo visits his assistant at the hospital and tries to convince him that he's actually Jang Pan-soo trapped in Kim Dong-hyun's body. Naturally, the assistant doesn't believe him. After all, Pan-soo's real body is lying in a coma right in front of them. But when Pan-soo starts revealing personal secrets and inside jokes that only the two of them would know, the assistant is stunned and finally believes him. The next day at school, Pan-soo is talking to his assistant over the phone when Hyun accidentally bumps into him while running, dropping her teddy bear. Pan-soo picks it up and runs after her to return it. Just as he hands the teddy bear back, Hyun's mother arrives to pick her up and Pan-soo freezes. The woman is none other than Omi's son, his first love and ex-girlfriend. Overwhelmed with emotion, Pan-soo calls out her name, "Mi's son," but she frowns and scolds him for being disrespectful, thinking he's just a rude teenager calling an older woman by her first name. Hyun quickly explains to her mom that Kim has lost his memory after an accident, which is why he's acting strange. Later, Pan-soo begins to wonder if Hyun might actually be his daughter. Wanting to be sure, he secretly takes a strand of her hair the next day and sends it for a DNA test. When the results come back, his suspicion is confirmed. Hyun is indeed his and Mi's son's daughter. Overjoyed by the discovery, Pan-soo is filled with deep emotion and happiness, realizing that he now has a daughter of his own, something he never knew before. The next day at school, some girls start bullying Hyun again. But this time, Jang Pan-soo sees everything and immediately steps in to stop them. After school, Pan-soo calls his assistant and angrily asks him to teach those girls a lesson. However, his assistant refuses, reminding him that they shouldn't involve themselves in such matters. After thinking it over, Pan-soo calms down and agrees, realizing that violence isn't the solution. Instead, he decides to meet Omi Sunday. During their conversation, Pan-soo tells her about Hyun's situation at school and suggests that she let Hyun learn self-defense so she can protect herself. Deep down, Pan-soo isn't just helping. He's fulfilling his long-lost duty as a father. He gives Mi's son the address of his own gym and asks her to send Hyun there for training. That evening, Mi's son sends Hyun to the gym, unaware that Pan-soo is the one behind it. When Hyun sees him there, she curiously asks why he's working out. To avoid suspicion, Pan-soo smiles and says he joined the gym to lose weight. From that day onward, the two begin training together. Hyun focuses on improving her self-defense skills, while Pan-soo works hard to burn off Kim Dong-hyun's extra body fat. After several weeks of intense effort, Pan-soo helps Kim's body completely transform, turning him from an awkward teenager into a handsome young man. When he returns to school, everyone is stunned by his new appearance. One day, Hyun invites Pan-soo to her home. There, he sees countless photos of Hyun from her childhood. Completely captivated, he secretly takes pictures of them on his phone and keeps looking at them with pride and affection, cherishing every moment. Meanwhile, at school, the same group of girls tries to bully Hyun once again. But this time, she confidently stands up for herself and fights back. Watching her courage, Pan-soo feels an overwhelming sense of pride and joy. He finally sees Hyun becoming strong, just like he had always wished. That night, Kim Dong-hyun's father is walking home with his salary when a group of men suddenly surround him. They're debt collectors, angry that he hasn't repaid his loans on time. They start beating him mercilessly in the street. Just then, Pan-soo happens to arrive and sees the attack. Without hesitation, he rushes in to defend Kim's father. But the goons turn on him too, beating both of them until they're left bloodied and helpless. Before leaving, the debt collectors warn them to repay the money soon or face worse consequences. Later that night, furious and protective, Pan-soo sends his men to the debt collectors' hideout to teach them a lesson. His men beat the goons severely and warn them never to go near Kim's father again. Terrified and humiliated, the debt collectors flee and never return. The next day, Pan-soo visits Mi's son at her restaurant. While he's there, some rude customers start harassing her. Pan-soo's temper explodes. He calmly orders Mi's son to go inside, and the moment she does, he unleashes his fury on the troublemakers. He beats them so badly that they scramble to escape, running for their lives. Mi's son comes out of the restaurant and confronts Jang Pan-soo, demanding to know who he really is and why he keeps calling her by name. Unable to control his emotions any longer, Pan-soo finally tells her the truth, that he is not Kim Dong-hyun, but Jang Pan-soo, her former lover, trapped inside this young boy's body. At first, Mi-sun refuses to believe such a ridiculous story. But to prove his honesty, Pan-soo reminds her of the exact place where they first met and the painful day they broke up. Hearing these memories, one's only the real Pan-soo could know. Mi-sun is shaken and finally believes him. However, her expression turns cold. She tells him to leave her restaurant immediately. Mi-sun's anger runs deep. Years ago, Pan-soo had left her to marry the daughter of his company's chairman, choosing wealth and status over love. He had abandoned her dreams and his own heart just to become a powerful businessman. It's a decision that still haunts him every single day. The next day at school, Hyun's crush invites her to a party at his house. Excited, she happily accepts, unaware of what's to come. Meanwhile, Pan-soo arranges to meet Mi-sun again at a restaurant. Sitting across from her, he apologizes sincerely for everything that happened between them, for leaving her, for breaking her heart, for all the lost years. But Mi-sun, still wounded, tells him sharply, "If you hadn't come back in this boy's body, you would have never come to apologize." Her words hit Pan-soo like a knife. He falls silent, unable to argue. As she turns to leave, he grabs her hand, and in an impulsive moment of emotion, he kisses her. Furious, Mi-sun slaps him across the face. Outside the restaurant, Pan-soo and Mi-sun are later seen arguing when Pan-soo suddenly receives a phone call. The caller frantically tells him that Hyun is being harassed nearby. Without hesitation, he rushes to the scene. When he arrives, he's horrified. Hyun's crush and his friends are bullying her. It turns out the boy invited her to the party only to humiliate her in front of everyone. Seeing his daughter crying and humiliation ignites something in Pan-soo. Overcome with rage, he charges at the bullies and fights them like a man possessed. Inspired by his courage, Hyun also stands up for herself, and together they teach her cruel crush and his friends a harsh lesson they'll never forget. The next day, Pan-soo receives shocking news. His wife has filed charges against him, accusing him of stealing the company's property. Enraged, he writes a letter to his father-in-law, exposing his wife's affair and accusing her of embezzling money from his business. Later that day, a girl from school confesses her love to Pan-soo. Gently, he tells her to go home and focus on her studies instead. Before leaving, she gives him a small gift and walks away shyly. Moments later, Hyun arrives and teasingly asks him how he feels about the girl, whether he likes her or not. Pan-soo firmly denies having any feelings for her. Hearing this, Hyun takes a deep breath and confesses her own feelings, saying she knows he likes her too and asking him to be her boyfriend. Completely stunned and conflicted, Pan-soo doesn't say a word. He quickly turns around and walks away, leaving Hyun standing there in silence, her confession hanging in the air. At home, Hyun opens up to her mother and confides that she has developed feelings for Kim Dong-hyun. The moment Mi-sun hears this, she becomes furious. Shocked and protective, she sternly warns Hyun to stay away from him and never speak of such things again. The next day, Mi-sun confronts Jang Pan-soo and angrily demands to know what he has done to Hyun to make her feel that way. Pan-soo, taken aback, insists that he hasn't done anything inappropriate. He explains that he only wants to protect Hyun and help her become stronger. As they argue, Hyun suddenly arrives and overhears part of the conversation. She curiously asks what they're talking about. Realizing there's no other way to end Hyun's confusion and feelings, Pan-soo blurts out the truth. He loves her mother. Shocked and heartbroken, Hyun stands frozen for a moment before quietly turning away and walking off in tears. Mi-sun, shaken, asks Pan-soo why he said such a thing. Pan-soo lowers his head and explains that he had no other choice. It was the only way he could stop Hyun from falling in love with him. Later in the film, a mysterious assailant sneaks into the hospital and attempts to kill Pan-soo's body, where Kim Dong-hyun's soul is trapped. But at that very moment, Kim suddenly regains consciousness, now awake inside Pan-soo's body. Confused and terrified, Kim escapes from the hospital and rushes straight to his father's house. When his father opens the door, he's horrified to see a middle-aged man standing there claiming to be his son. Trembling, Kim's father backs away in fear, but Kim quickly reassures him, saying, "Dad, it's me, your son. I don't know what's happening, but this is really me. Moments later, Pan-soo, still in Kim's body, arrives at the house. Seeing his own original body, now inhabited by Kim, standing before him, Kim is completely stunned. He can't believe how handsome and mature he looks as Jang Pan-soo. Pan-soo then calmly explains everything to Kim's father, revealing the truth about their body swap. To prove that he really is Kim, the man in Pan-soo's body shares intimate details from his childhood, memories only the real Kim could possibly know. Hearing this, Kim's father is overwhelmed and finally accepts that his son's soul now resides in another man's body. After clearing the misunderstanding, Pan-soo pleads with Kim for help. He dresses Kim up in a formal suit to look exactly like himself and takes him to meet Omi's son. During the meeting, Kim apologizes to Mi's son, pretending to be the real Jang Pan-soo who has finally returned to his body. Mi's son, completely unaware of the truth, believes him, thinking that Pan-soo's soul has returned to normal at last. As they're talking, a group of goons suddenly storms in, sent by Jang Pan-soo's wife to kill Kim Dong-hyun once again. Startled, Kim, still trapped in Pan-soo's body, hides behind Omi's son, trembling and crying silently. Seeing his terrified behavior, Mi's son instantly realizes something is wrong. This man can't be the real Jang Pan-soo. At that moment, the real Pan-soo, in Kim's original body, steps forward. He tells Mi's son and Kim to go inside and stay safe, insisting he'll handle the attackers alone. He brutally beat the goons, leaving them bloodied and barely standing. Just as one of them raises a knife to finish him off, Mi's son bursts out of the kitchen, clutching a gas cylinder. She opens the valve and shouts, her voice trembling but fierce. "Take one more step, and we all die together." The sound of hissing gas fills the air as she threatens to ignite it. Terrified, the goons panic and flee the scene. As the danger passes, Mi's son drops the cylinder and collapses to the floor, overcome with emotion. She breaks down, crying uncontrollably. Through her tears, she confesses that she has been waiting for Pan-soo for 14 long years. But the endless waiting has left her exhausted and broken. Unable to hold back her feelings any longer, she embraces him tightly, sobbing in his arms. The next day, Pan-soo's father-in-law calls his daughter to meet him. He shows her a letter written by Pan-soo. Confused, she asks, "How could he have written this letter? He's still in the hospital." Her father calmly replies, "That letter was written a month ago." Caught off guard, she accidentally blurts out, "But I wasn't having any affair at that time." Her slip of the tongue reveals everything. Realizing that Pan-soo's accusations were true, her father's expression darkens. He immediately calls Dong-hyun, still in Pan-soo's body, to come meet him. Shortly after, Kim arrives at the location. Meanwhile, the real Pan-soo, seated in a nearby car, guides him through an earpiece, whispering what to say and do. But suddenly, their connection cuts off, leaving Kim completely on his own. Pan-soo's father-in-law offers him the position of chairman of the company. However, his wife interrupts, snapping that Pan-soo also has a daughter, so she shouldn't be the only one blamed for everything. Kim, still posing as Pan-soo, defends him, explaining sincerely that Pan-soo only recently learned about his daughter. He says that after meeting her, he realized what truly matters in life. He says family is worth more than any wealth. "I don't need power or property anymore. I already have everything I need." His heartfelt words leave everyone silent. Then Kim quietly stands and walks away. Outside, he meets Pan-soo and recounts everything that happened. Touched by his courage and sincerity, Pan-soo hugs him tightly in gratitude. But just then, Pan-soo's furious wife appears, speeding toward them in her car. She tries to run Kim over, but Pan-soo reacts instantly, shoving Kim out of harm's way. The car slams into Pan-soo instead, sending him crashing onto the pavement. The scene shifts to the hospital. Hyun sits quietly beside the injured Pan-soo, tears in her eyes. In a weak, trembling voice, Pan-soo finally tells her the truth, that he is her father. He apologizes for not being there during her childhood and begs her to forgive him. Hyun takes his hand, her tears falling freely, as the weight of years of pain and misunderstanding begins to fade between them. However, just after this heartfelt confession, something strange begins to happen. Both Kim and Jang Pan-soo suddenly lose consciousness, collapsing at the same time. In a dramatic twist of fate, their souls are mysteriously swapped back into their original bodies. The story then jumps ahead 5 months. Kim Dong-hyun is finally back in his own young body, returning to school and resuming his normal life. This time, though, everything feels different. He's become unexpectedly popular, with many girls trying to catch his attention, but his heart belongs only to Hyun. Meanwhile, Jang Pan-soo and Omi's son have reconciled. They now live together peacefully, managing their small restaurant side by side. With every dish they serve and every smile they share, they slowly rebuild the love they once lost. The movie ends on a warm, emotional note, with everyone finally finding the happiness they had long been searching for.